Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The silence was heavier than the darkness, a suffocating weight that pressed against my chest the moment consciousness slammed back into me. I didn't wake up slowly. I gasped, shooting upright in the king-sized bed, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs like a trapped bird. The digital clock on the bedside table was dead. The heavy velvet curtains were drawn tight. But it wasn't the darkness that made my blood run cold. It was the emptiness. Just hours ago, this sprawling penthouse suite had been filled with the raucous laughter, the scent of muscle bomb, and the chaotic energy of 5 other elite athletes. Now, the silence was absolute, broken only by the terrifyingly loud sound of my own ragged breathing. I threw off the high-thread count duvet, my bare feet hitting the cold marble floor, and that was when I saw it, a single, jagged line of red lipstick smeared across the vanity mirror in the adjacent bathroom, illuminated by the faint glow of the emergency track lighting. Asterisk survival is a team sport of 2. Choose wisely. Asterisk my name is Run. I am, or I was, the star fencer for the National University League. We were supposed to be celebrating our regional victory. The mysterious invitation to the Obsidian Hotel, an ultra-exclusive high-rise that catered to the whims of the city's elite, had seemed like the ultimate reward. 5 swimmers, runners, and fighters, and me. We drank champagne that tasted like ambrosia. We laughed until our sides ached. And then, the lights went out. Now, the suite was a tomb. Jonas. I called out, my voice cracking. Marcus. Nothing. The other beds were undisturbed, pristine, as if my teammates had never existed. Their bags were gone. Their shoes, usually scattered in a heap by the door, were missing. I moved through the suite, my senses dialed to 11. I checked the door. Locked. Not just locked, but fused. The electronic keypad was dead, and the heavy oak seemed reinforced with steel. I grabbed a heavy bronze statue from a pedestal, a twisted depiction of a hound devouring a hare, and swung it with all my might against the floor-to-ceiling window. Thud. The glass didn't even vibrate. Reinforced polycarbonate. Military grade. Unbelievable, I hissed, dropping the statue. My hands were shaking, not from cold, but from a rising, primal panic. Why me? Why was I left behind? A sound came from the far end of the hallway, near the master bedroom suite. It was the distinct click of a safety being disengaged. I froze. My fencing instincts took over. Distance. Timing. Observation. I grabbed a letter opener from the mahogany desk, a pathetic substitute for a foil, but it was sharp. I pressed my back against the wall, inching toward the open door of the master suite. Come out, a voice growled. It was deep, baritone, and laced with a lethal calm. I knew that voice. It was the voice that had haunted my nightmares and my competitive career for 3 years. I stepped into the doorway, the letter opener raised. Kale, standing in the center of the room, shirtless, his broad, swimmer's back defined by rippling muscle and old scars, was Kalen Thorne, the captain of the rival university's swim team. The man who had publicly humiliated me at the last gala, calling my technique pretty but fragile. He turned slowly. He was holding a heavy fire axe he must have pried from the emergency case in the hall. His eyes, the color of stormy seas, narrowed as they landed on me. Run, he said, his lip curling in a sneer that didn't quite reach his eyes. I should have known. You're the partner they left me with. Left you with. I kept my distance, the letter opener trembling slightly. Where are the others, Kale? What did you do? Kale laughed, a harsh, barking sound. He took a step toward me, the axe hanging loosely in his grip. You think I did this? I woke up 5 minutes ago in the bathtub, submerged in ice water. My team is gone. Your team is gone. It's just us. He gestured to the wall behind him. There was a monitor embedded in the plaster, flickering with static. Suddenly, the screen cleared, revealing a view of the hotel lobby. But it wasn't a lobby anymore. It was a ruin. Debris scattered everywhere, exits barricaded with concrete. A distorted voice echoed through the room speakers. Asterisk, welcome, gentlemen. The asset liquidation has begun. Your teammates have been processed. They failed the initial psychological screening. You too, however, possess the requisite aggression and will. The doors to the penthouse will unlock in 60 seconds. You have 10 floors to descend. On the ground floor, there is one keycard that opens the main exit. Only one. Asterisk, the screen went black. The silence that followed was heavier than before. One keycard, Cale murmured. He looked at me, really looked at me, assessing my frame. I was lean, built for speed and precision. He was a powerhouse, built for endurance and brute force. In a cage match, he would break me in half. Don't get any ideas, I warned, adjusting my grip on the letter opener. I know where your arteries are. Cale snorted, tossing the axe onto the bed. Put the toy away, fencer. The voice said one keycard, not one survivor. We can figure it out. But we have to get down there first. Why should I trust you? Because, Cale stepped closer, invading my personal space. The heat radiating off his bare skin was intoxicating, confusing my fear with something else entirely. He loomed over me, his gaze dropping to my lips for a fraction of a second before snapping back to my eyes. Because you can't break down the doors on the stairwell. And I can't dodge the traps they've likely set. We're a set, Ren. Like it or not. Click. The main door to the suite unlatched with a mechanical groan. Cale grabbed the axe again. After you, princess. I gritted my teeth at the nickname, but moved. We stepped out into the hallway. The hotel, usually a beacon of warmth and luxury, was now a cold, industrial nightmare. The opulent carpets were stained. The lights flickered with a nauseating strobe effect. We made it down 2 flights of stairs before the first test began. It wasn't a monster. It was the environment itself. The stairwell ended abruptly on the 18th floor, blocked by a collapsed ceiling. We had to go into the corridor. Wait, I whispered, holding out a hand to stop Cale. What? He snapped, adrenaline making him impatient. Look at the floor tiles. I pointed. The pattern was irregular. Pressure plates. I've seen this set up in diagrams for fencing footwork drills, ironically enough. If you step on the white ones, something happens. Paranoid much? Cale scoffed. To prove me wrong, he stepped deliberately onto a white marble tile. Thwip, a steel dart the size of a finger shot out of the wall, grazing Cale's shoulder. He hissed, stumbling back, blood instantly welling up against his tense skin. Poison? He asked, his voice tight. I moved to him immediately, inspecting the wound. Clean cut. No discoloration. Probably just a warning. I told you to wait. Fine. He grunted, wincing as I probed the cut. You lead. I'll clear the heavy obstacles. For the next hour, we were a seamless unit, a fact that terrified me more than the traps. I navigated the pressure plates, the tripwires, and the logic puzzles locking the stairwell doors. Cale used his immense strength to pry open jammed elevators and hold up collapsing beams so I could slide under. We were enemies. We were rivals. But in the dark, sweating and bleeding, the animosity was transmuting into a high-octane tension that felt dangerously like attraction. On the 10th floor, things went wrong. We entered a ballroom to find the next exit. The room was vast, filled with mirrors. As soon as we stepped in, the doors slammed shut behind us. Gas began to hiss from the vents. Chlorine gas, Cale identified immediately, his swimmer's instincts kicking in. It'll burn our lungs out in minutes. The exit. I pointed to the far side. But between us and the door stood a figure. It was a mannequin, dressed in fencing gear, holding a live, sharpened saber. And behind it, another mannequin in a swimmer's cap, holding a spear gun. Robotics, I realized. They want us to fight our counterparts. The fencer bot lunged. I didn't have a sword. I only had the letter opener. I dodged, the saber slicing the air where my neck had been. Run, get down. Cale roared. I dropped. Cale hurled the fire axe. It spun through the air, smashing into the swimmer bot, shattering its torso. But the fencer bot was too fast for him. It turned on Cale, the saber tip aiming for his chest. Cale couldn't dodge in time. He raised his arm to block, taking the steel blade through his forearm. He shouted in pain, dropping to one knee. No! The scream tore from my throat. I didn't think. I moved. I flowed like water, slipping inside the bot's guard. I jammed the letter opener into the exposed wiring of the mannequin's neck joint, twisting violently. Sparks showered over me, burning my skin, but I didn't let go until the machine jerked and collapsed. The gas was getting thicker. My eyes burned. I turned to Cale. He was clutching his arm, blood pouring between his fingers, his face pale. Kale. I scrambled over to him, ripping the hem of my shirt to make a tourniquet. Stay with me. Look at me. He looked up, his eyes hazy. You saved me. Don't make it a habit. I choked out, tightening the knot. He groaned, his head falling forward to rest on my shoulder. His sweat-soaked hair brushed my neck. Why? He whispered against my skin. You hate me. I hate your arrogance. I corrected, my voice trembling. I hate that you're better than me. I don't want you dead. Kale let out a low, breathless laugh. He lifted his head, his face inches from mine. The adrenaline, the fear, the gas, it was a heady cocktail. I'm not better than you, Ren. I never was. I mocked you because I couldn't take my eyes off you. Even across the arena. You were the only thing I saw. My breath hitched. This is not the time, Kale. It's the only time, he countered. He reached out with his good hand, cupping the back of my neck, his thumb stroking the pulse point below my ear. His grip was firm, possessive. If we die here, we aren't dying. I hauled him up. He leaned heavily on me, his massive weight a burden I gladly accepted. We stumbled toward the exit, my lungs screaming for air. We crashed through the doors just as the gas filled the room completely. We collapsed in the 9th floor hallway, gasping for clean air. We lay on the carpet, limbs tangled. I should have moved away, but I couldn't. I needed to feel his heartbeat to assure myself he was alive. Kale turned his head, his nose brushing against my cheek. Run. Yeah. If we get out. I'm taking you to dinner. And I'm paying. I let out a ragged laugh. Deal. The final descent was a blur of pain and exhaustion. By the time we reached the lobby, we were both battered. My clothes were torn. Kale's arm was a mess of bloody fabric, and we were running on fumes. And there it was. The glass doors to the outside world. Through them, I could see police lights flashing in the distance. Freedom. But between us and the door stood a pedestal. On it lay a single golden keycard. The voice returned, echoing through the cavernous lobby. Asterisk, congratulations. You have reached the finale. As stated. 1 keycard. 1 exit. The door is biometric. It will scan only one person before permanently locking. The other must remain as collateral. Asterisk, I froze. Kale stiffened beside me. Collateral, I whispered. That means dead. Kale looked at the card, then at the door. Then he looked at me. The arrogance was gone from his face, replaced by a strange, somber resolve. Take it, Kale said. I blinked. What? Take the card, Ren. You're faster. You can make it to the police line before the perimeter defenses activate. Are you insane? I shoved his chest. I'm not leaving you here. Look at me. Kale roared, grabbing my shoulders. I'm losing blood. I'm slowing you down. If we argue, we both stay. If you go, you can tell them what happened. You can burn this place to the ground for us. No. I shook my head, tears finally spilling over. I'm not leaving you. Run. Kale's expression softened. He leaned down, his forehead resting against mine. You have to. He kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, tasting of blood and copper and finality. It was a kiss that tried to convey a lifetime of missed chances in a single second. When he pulled away, he shoved me toward the pedestal. Go. I stumbled toward the card. I looked at it. Then I looked at the biometric scanner on the door. Biometric. Wait, I said, my mind racing. The scanner. Does it scan a face? A fingerprint? What does it matter? Kale shouted. It's a hand scanner, I yelled, looking at the panel. Kale, come here. Run, stop wasting time. Come here. I commanded, using my captain voice. Kale stumbled over. I grabbed his injured arm. The hand was still functional. I grabbed the keycard with my right hand. The rule said 1 keycard. It said the door scans 1 person. It didn't say only 1 person can walk through while it's open. It'll close too fast, Kale argued. It's designed to separate us. Not if we break the sensor, I said, eyeing the heavy fire axe Kale had dragged all the way down. Scan your hand. Open the door. As soon as the bolt retracts, I jam the axe into the mechanism. If you miss, the door crushes you, Kale said, his eyes wide. I'm a fencer, I said, a dark smirk touching my lips. I don't miss. Kale looked at me, a mixture of awe and terror in his eyes. He nodded. He pressed his hand to the scanner. The light turned green. Click. The heavy glass began to slide. I didn't hesitate. I swung the axe, not at the glass, but at the exposed hydraulic arm at the top of the frame. It was a 1 in a million shot. Crunch. The axe had bit deep into the metal piston. The door shuddered, halted halfway open, groaning against the obstruction. Now, I screamed. We threw ourselves through the gap. We tumbled onto the cold concrete of the driveway, the cool night air hitting us like a physical blow. Behind us, the hydraulics whined and sparked, but the axe held. We didn't stop rolling until we were on the grass. Sirens wailed closer. I lay on my back, staring up at the stars. I was alive. A heavy weight settled on my chest. Cale had rolled over, draping his good arm over me, burying his face in my neck. He was shaking. You crazy bastard, he mumbled into my skin. You actually did it. I wrapped my arms around him, holding him tight. I told you. I don't miss. He lifted his head. His eyes were dark, intense, and filled with a heat that promised the conversation we started in the gas-filled room wasn't over. You owe me a dinner, Ren. I thought you were paying? I am. Cale murmured, leaning down to brush his lips against mine, slow and lingering this time. But you're staying for breakfast. The police lights washed over us, bathing us in red and blue. The nightmare at the Obsidian was over. But as I looked at Cale, the enemy who had become my savior, I knew a different kind of intensity was just beginning. The roommates were gone. The game was over, but the bond forged in the dark was unbreakable. And that is how the fencer pierced the swimmer's heart, not with a blade, but with a choice. If you enjoyed seeing Ren take control and defy the odds, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you sacrifice yourself to save a rival, or would you take the key and run? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then,